speaking to him about psychology, I mean, one of the toughest men on the planet.
And they win all day long, and I'm like...
As soon as the hammer came down, I was like, oh dear.
Welcome to this very special episode of The Inside Track with Zara Phillips and Mike Tindall. Zara Tindall. So nice to meet you both, and thanks so much for having us here. Really looking forward to it. I'm a huge eventing fan, do it on a very low level, so really grateful to meet you. And Mike, we have lots of rugby fans. I'm probably not a huge one, but I'm still looking forward to the chat. And of course, you are a huge racing fan. First memories of racing, we'll start with you, Mike. I know you grew up around the horses. How did that happen? How did you end up around horses?
Well, my first sort of memories of racing were when I worked on a fish and chip van at York Races generally, and saw some of the sights coming off the course. But first time, Cheltenham Festival was probably my first introduction to going racing on a regular occasion. We were dating, I'd moved to Gloucester, so it was always, as soon as you're playing at Gloucester, it's always the day off is head straight to the races, usually a Thursday. So that's where that sort of love affair came, and then just getting to know jockeys. Then, because you're a sports person, you understand more when you start speaking to the people who ride and the people who train, and obviously AP being a good mate of Zara's, you start speaking to him about psychology. I mean, one of the toughest men on the planet. You think you play a tough sport, but you see what AP's been through. And then you start understanding a bit more. So when you're actually watching the races, you're understanding a bit more what the jockeys are trying to do, and you can sort of spot, when they've given them a good ride, and that increases your love of the sport. And I'm not one of those guys who can remember which horse is out of which and who always rides, but I enjoy going to the races, I enjoy watching the horses, and we've got a syndicate that does some stuff out in Australia, so still involved in some way.
Yeah, a bit more sunshine over there.
Yeah.
I completely get the sports thing. We were doing bits with AP, of course. He's a big part of our team, and he's unbelievable, isn't he? He talks everything down so much. He's a complete, he makes out like nothing's a big deal, but unbelievable sports person, and he's had a lot of injuries. I'm sure you have yourself over the years as well. You would have grown up around. Yeah, it's fine.
I don't think anyone's had as many as him.
I'm not as crazy as him.
Yours would have been obviously growing up around horses, of course.
Yeah, I mean, both my parents evented, and then weirdly, Mum then retired from eventing and went into racing, which is kind of a strange way around of doing it, you would have thought. But so I remember from very early on, sort of like 9 years old, when Mum started going racing, started going to the Dukes, David Nicholson, when he was at Condicut, and riding out there. And it would just, became something that we got very involved in. I remember going to the races and watching her, and a couple of times followed her around the track, and loved it. I loved now I think, like, in my eventing career, I really think it's helped my career in riding thoroughbreds, getting horses fit, getting racehorses fit. It's definitely helped my career for eventing in that way, and the love of it has just grown and grown.
Yeah, and I think they massively cross over personally, having ridden as a jockey and been around thoroughbreds for 10, 15 years, and then I now event as a hobby, but there's so many things, obviously, to nowhere near your scale, but that come into it, like you say, the way you'd look after him, the way you deal with things. I think having the two of them cross over so massively, and you mentioned that you've had a few thoroughbreds over the years, and some of them, they do well at this other sport. Yeah,
I mean, I think the thoroughbred is an incredible animal, and they can do anything, and they kind of prove that in a lot of the disciplines. And I've loved always being on a thoroughbred, because they just run and gallop, and when you kick them, they go. That kind of instant love of going across the country. The magic for. So yeah, I've always loved having that blood in the event horse, for sure.
Yeah, I think the massive downside, if you take a thoroughbred on the gallops and then a normal, either a thoroughbred warm blood or an Irish something cross, you're like, oh, they're so slow. First time I took a normal horse on a gallop, I was like, and they're like, to everyone else it seemed quick, but
you got to teach them how to gallop.
Exactly. Yeah. You talked about, obviously, AP, who you're good friends with. I'm assuming you both have lots of friends in and out of racing. We thought it would be fun to know who you would and wouldn't listen to for tips.
When I've taken people racing, the people who've done the best at like putting a bet on have got no idea, and they turn up and they go, "Oh, my granny's dog's called so and so,"
Rupert or something.
Yeah, and like they like pick links like that, and they win all day long, and I'm like.
Yeah.
I think jump racing is very like that, and especially
Yeah.
at the bigger festivals. You know, people every year I get messages from people, I'm sure you all do, who I've never heard of, and I think, who are these? And the Grand National tips, and I'm like, just choose your own. Trust me. There is no point in asking me. The chances are. You are obviously both high level, have been athletes, competitive, both, I'm sure.
Possibly.
Scrabble winners.
Possibly. Yeah. Anything, table tennis, anything.
Backgammon.
Yeah, anything.
I was expecting more sporty than backgammon, but I'll take it. I suppose you do enough physical stuff.
Tennis.
Skiing, he is
We're different animals.
less skillful, yeah.
Have you not got much skiing prowess?
He doesn't turn.
Yeah,
he just takes people out.
Reckless.
Hang
on,
which you are built to
you're
do.
just putting out false. I don't think I've ever taken anyone out, apart from myself.
I think you're built to do it. It's fine.
Take people out.
Talking of the national, the races, Cheltenham will have a little word on. So Cheltenham Festival, you've obviously both been going for a very long time, separately together. How long?
Well, we've been together for nearly 20 years. So I didn't move to Gloucester until 2005. We were already dating. So my whole racing experience has really been with you, hasn't it? And now with the festival, I work for a hospitality company called the Green Room, so we have 350 there every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's a hard week. It's a hard week. It's a
And
hard
are your
work
tipping
week.
skills better for that than they are for the rugby?
No, you stay away from
My tipple skills are better than my tipping skills, probably.
Favourite races? Cheltenham Week, do you think? What's your favourite?
Well, I always loved Quavega, so that was like your go-to horse. In the mares race, it would always literally wouldn't run for 300 days, and it'd just rock up there and tank it. It was the gambler's favourite was Quavega in the mares race, so that was always one that sticks out with me. Because
I mean, I think Gold Cup's what they're all there for, but Champion Chase, I think it's just so much fun, and I always thought like when I was growing up, it was always a big day because it was Queen Mother Champion Chase, and she loved going. So that's always a race I love to go and watch. I also love the Ryanair too.
I think especially watching, especially for you from a jumping point of view, watching those horses go that fast. And some of them, the way they take off from such a long way away, and that, you know, the actual jumping ability at that speed. Yeah. Is unreal. It's
incredible. It's such a thing to go and watch. I mean, it's an awesome race. But there's so much to watch. It's just an incredible week, and it's I think I've been doing about 25 years now. And when I first went, there was only 3 days. So when they put up to 4, you're like, oh my God, you know,
got to go again.
We were all like,
another
oh my
outfit,
God, another day,
outfit.
More heels. But it's just an incredible week. A great week to be a part of now. I'm, absolutely loving being on the committee at Cheltenham. It's just so much fun. The other side of racing and seeing how everything works, how everything comes together, like how you can try and improve somewhere, that's already epic in the calendar, and the week of all your champion races you could possibly want. So it's a fun week, but it's hard work as well.
Yeah, of course. You said about being on the committee, etc., and improving things, changing things. Obviously, the dress code has been a massive thing. I'm sure you've both seen that. They're trying to relax that. I actually have just the plain view of, I just think it opens doors for more people. If you still want to dress up, if you still, at all of the courses you can. I don't personally see a downside to it. I think I've seen a few negative about how it brings the kind of, it brings it down or whatever.
I didn't really think there was that much of an issue anyway. I think there are different parts of the track. You can go whatever you want to wear. There's a place for you anyway. I didn't really see there was a big issue. I think I always like tradition, so I like the Royal Ascot. I know that's not going to change, and Epsom Derby Day is not going to change. But I quite like the bit. A lot of people want to get dressed up and go to the races. So if they want to do that, they can do that. I don't feel. I think they've just put a it's more of a statement to say that, by the way, there is always
We're just
somewhere
trying to be
whatever you
more
want to wear.
inclusive.
Yeah, whatever you want to wear.
And like it's a different time of year as well, isn't it? It's a different. You want to stay warm as well, so it's an easier time of year to be more casual and still feel part of everything as well. I feel
Interesting. We see Sam Smith's Brits outfit strolling through.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be allowed into the races.
I don't think
in
it'll be
that
warm
thing.
enough.
Although he could have a lot of layers on under there.
That's
So
true.
I think
You never know.
But I had a guy actually message me via Twitter to basically say that he was so happy about the relaxing of the things because he was in a wheelchair and he always felt a bit uncomfortable, not kind of being able to dress up so much. And that was the perfect thing. And even if only 10 people had felt like that before, and they now, because it is just such a small, loosening of things.
It's always that thing. It's where you read a headline and you immediately think of something that is negative for you, whereas actually, if you actually get into reading the detail, I mean, nothing is really changing. It's more just emphasising the point that there was always been a place or a ticket for whatever you want to wear, as long as you go and enjoy the races. You see that at Cheltenham, you see that at Royal Ascot as well. You can there's always a spot.
There's always
they always
somewhere
want
you
people
can come and enjoy it and feel part of it. Go and see the horses. That's why we're there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like to be able to actually see them in the flesh and go up and put your bet on. That's what you're there for.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just make everyone happy and comfortable. We're lucky that we get to be close to horses every day, but lots of people don't, and it's a nice thing. We'll talk about close to horses. Monbeg Dude, a horse very close to you. Tell us the story about him. Of course, what a success story it was as well.
It didn't quite start out that way. I think it was Tattersall's sale at Cheltenham, and I sometimes like to be involved in auctions just to be seen to be helping out. And I think that auction, most things I don't think anything had gone under 20 grand.
Okay.
So I went, so I was like, I'll have first bid on this one. So I put my hand up, someone else did. The guy saw the 10 grand first, so then he saw me at 12, and it was literally like the room had emptied.
He was the last.
It was
horse of the
lucky
sale.
last. It was the lucky last
Which is
horse
kind
of
of
the
what
sale. So
happens.
probably a few people had left, but it was like a ghost town. And I've sort of turned around to the auctioneer and gone, and he's like, is anyone going to help this unenthusiastic bidder? And,
Looking around,
and then I think
tumbleweed.
everyone basically saw me and went, no, we'll let him. So I was sat on Mickey Joe Skew's table with James Simpson, Daniel I played rugby with. So I immediately, as soon as the hammer came down, I was like, oh dear. Because we hadn't even looked at this horse. It wasn't like we'd seen it or anything. So I immediately said to Sinbad, who loves horses, I was like, well, you're in. And then I said to Mickey Joe, do you want a leg and you can train it? And then I sent a picture of the pink slip type thing, the sales slip, to a guy called Nicky Robinson. I said, well done, you've just bought a horse, sharing a horse. But all of them were happy with it. And we went and saw him. He was tiny, wasn't it? He was tiny.
He's a little chap.
But then we went back to Sinbad's house and we watched. He won an Irish point to point, and you sort of said on that point, "Well, that's a good sign that he's won an Irish point." And then we went on the journey, and it didn't start well. He just about a week before his first race, he'd just done his work up the gallops, and he was in a holding pen or whatever, and he tried to jump out, landed on it. A small crack through his pelvis. So immediately he was out for 6 months. So we were like,
maintenance.
Yeah, we were like, oh, this is awkward. But then no, we got him back, and I think it was a good partnership, because obviously myself, Nicky, and Sinbad always wanted to push on, whereas Mickey Skew was quite a young trainer at the time, and we won at, I can't remember where we won first.
Lingfield or something like that.
And he was like, let's stay at that level and try and sort of consolidate and get. And we were like, no, he's won at that level. Let's keep going. And that was a sort of. It was a fight for Skew.
Bit of push and pull.
It was a fight for Skew because it's not how everyone normally does it. But I was like, well, we enjoy racing. We want to go. It was like the Gold Cup. He was probably never ready to go in the Gold Cup. But how often do you have the chance
to even have a run?
Have a horse that's going to run in the Gold Cup? So we were like, of course we're going to do it. And the same then when Aintree rolled around, and the irony of his Aintree experience is the first time he went, he didn't get hampered in any way, and he finished 7th. So and then he went the next time, and literally AP had run him in the trials day, and he said he might need a wind up.
And that's at Haydock, wasn't it?
Haydock, yeah. And then so we were like, we couldn't get anyone to ride him. No one wanted to ride him. So eventually Liam Treadwell got. I mean, we ended up third. He had to jump over a horse. He had to sidestep horses. He got hampered left, right, and centre.
He gave him a peach, though.
And then he gave him a great ride. And at the elbow, you think, oh, actually, he's coming back at St Eyre, because St Eyre was in front, wasn't it? And then Many Clouds obviously romped away and won it. But it was a great experience. And to be in Trevor Hemmings's box when Many Clouds win it and we came third, it was.
It was a good day. It was a fun day.
Yeah,
that's the way, why you get involved, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and I always say I've never been like a super fan of anything, like even sport. I've played it. I've never been a massive football fan, so I've never had a team that I follow.
Yeah,
and have a horse that you care about so much, and then to win, I got really lost on what to do. I didn't really understand how to deal with the emotions, so I sort of wandered around. And AP was retiring, so they had a big wall for AP's retirement for everyone to write a comment on. And I wrote, I told you should have rode him.
Oh, nice.
And that was it. Yeah.
Goodness, I can't imagine. I was going to say, it's like the Nationals, the dream. You say about the Gold Cup. I don't think people buy horses to be Gold Cup horses. No. They buy horses to run in the National or to win the National. I think that's a lifelong thing. So if you could choose
the history of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unreal.
It's funny with the National though, because when you're there, you can't. It's so hard to follow where you are, because unless you're in the front. And you're always getting taught.
Of course.
Well, like even on the first thing, you're like, "Where is he? I can't see him. He's on the far end of the track." You just don't. It's an impossible race to follow. But you just got to be there at the second last, and then you can figure it out.
You just never know, especially as he's jumping. I think he used to like skim through fences to start off with in his career.
Yeah.
Like kind of bank them most of the time. There was such a journey with his jumping. So then actually, when you get to Aintree, you got to hope that
that they don't make those mistakes.
They either take to it or not, don't they?
Zara put a lot of work into him as well, and that was great. And Mickey's school letting Zara. Well, he didn't really get let. He let it happen. Zara is going to help you, but it was work, because it did change it. It changed his jumping.
I think they need it.
It's just like footwork, isn't it? They've just got to, because they're travelling so much quicker than us. They just got to learn to use their feet and be agile, so they can maybe back themselves off, or maybe extend a bit so they can, take off earlier. So it's just fun, like teaching them to figure out their feet and where they are and when they can use them, and essentially they all know how to jump, but like being able to balance themselves is.
Yeah, it's how many of the fences they know how to jump past if they don't know all that. We were watching races with Barry and AP over the years that they've ridden in, and that was a massive thing, like watching some of those good horses over the years, like Swinter Sacre, he was like, just one of those horses, he'd just jump himself to the front. I didn't want to be there, but it's just every fence he'd fence better than the horse next to him or better than the horse in front of him, and you end up back upsides them, and that's from a racehorse point of view. They're taking lengths or losing them out of every fence, so it massively does matter. You've already said you don't have any horses here at the moment. I don't know why, considering your great record with Monbeg Dude.
That's it. So the money that he won has got me the syndicate that we do in Australia. So I was like, no one ever finishes in front. So it's like that. It's like draw the legs. It'll always be a disappointment.
You obviously both go to Australia. You've been there a lot. International racing is a massive thing. I'm sure a lot of people in the UK especially would like to do. Have you been racing in other countries, Hong Kong or Japan?
I've been in
Hong Kong.
I've been in Hong Kong once.
How did you find that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
All right,
it's
melting hot.
It's Happy Valley in the middle, isn't it?
It's bonkers.
Yeah. It's crazy. It was so different but amazing. I absolutely loved it. It's just racing globally. It's so different. It's so much fun. It's entertaining, and I'd love to go, do some more racing elsewhere. I've been to Melbourne Cup and Magic Millions. Obviously, we're involved in. I've been to Keenan, but I haven't actually not when racing's been on. I'd love to do a bit more of the kind of globe trotting.
I don't know a great
racing.
deal about like Japan or Hong Kong, but I know it's massively different. The jockeys go into quarantine and all sorts before the meetings for a couple of days, can't have their phones, and it's really, it's really strict.
Big
very,
betting
very
though,
strict.
isn't it?
But that's what I think why the
Yeah,
jockeys are so
yeah.
non-involved. You know, like I think it is 2 days before or the day before they have to go into quarantine. They can't take phones or anything. It's really strict out there.
I enjoyed it, Hong Kong, but that was with the Barbarians, so I was on quite a loose trip anyway.
No idea what's going
The
on.
Barbarians. Let's talk individually what you've both done. Obviously, winning a medal, I'm sure, was unbelievable. Obviously, you still ride now. How was the Olympics? How did you find winning a medal?
It was amazing. I mean, we are so lucky. We were so lucky to be in London and near everything at Greenwich. And we, everyone when Greenwich was given the eventing and the equestrian bit were like grumbling, and because it's like Burley up the road and Badminton and all those kind of places. But actually, for our sport and the involvement in it and people being able to view it, it was incredible because it was such a different location.
Different crowd as well, really.
Different, like people who were in London who never seen the sport ever.
Yeah, or that were just, like you say, Olympic fans, nothing to do with horses or the
just getting tickets, they balloted, get tickets.
It was incredible. Like the people everywhere, the crowd
was
incredible. Unreal. It was like you couldn't hear yourself. I couldn't hear my watch beeping, like beeps every minute just because of the noise. It was like this tunnel that you rode through. Just unreal and really, really special for our sport. People just got an idea of what goes on, what's involved, and just an amazing thing to be a part of.
You've been doing it for a long time. I know you said your mum was obviously a big influence in that. I assume, not that long, you obviously would still get the same buzz, I assume, that you always have. I mean, cross-country is an amazing thing. I rode winners. I ride down a dressage line, centre line in 100 test, and I'm like, it's unbelievable. It's silly that, having ridden racehorses and winners and stuff, completely different. But you obviously still get a massive, massive buzz from it, I assume,
massive
and you
buzz.
enjoy it.
I think, I've only rode in charity races, so I didn't really get to what you got to. So but I still get the same buzz. Being at the top level, riding at the top level is what you want to do, and what you put all the work into. I still love being able to do that, and can hopefully do it for a few more years. And I've got a couple of nice horses, so we'll see how it goes. But it's great to ride at the top, and the competition speaks for itself.
Do you think cross-country eventing is that part of it is not? I don't think it's that far away from those big, like the cross-country races at the big meetings race. I don't think it's that dissimilar.
No, although you don't have 20 other people following.
No, but you also don't have very skinny jumps on ankles, etc. So I think it levels itself out. I know your mum and your granny had a massive influence on the horse thing. They were both massively into the horses growing up. They had horses at home and stuff that you were involved in as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my family, through my grandmother and great-grandmother, were huge influence on us being involved in horses, and their passion for racing was phenomenal. And everyone's seen it worldwide, and they absolutely loved it and have passed it on to me and my mother. And I would thank them for getting us involved, and we have loved every part of it, and hope that we can take that on forward and pass it on to our children as well. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're as proud as they could be of how far you've got and how well you've done and are doing. Your rugby, Mike, debut. Tell us about that. First proper foray into it.
Yeah, it was. I went on tour in the year before, which was just before the World Cup in '99, and then got cut from the '99 squad. So I've been around the squad, but to actually get picked and then your first game, your first game for your country, being at home against Ireland, a big game on we're just coming off that '99 World Cup was technically the worst we'd ever done at a World Cup, even though it was quarter-final, but they'd got to finals before and semis. It was a big transition as well in that England team. A few people had left at the back of '99, and a few young guys come in, myself, Bolsh, Benny Cohen, Steve Thompson. So it was, to go to win and score. Benny Cohen scored 2 on his debut. I scored 1, and we won 47-13, I think it was. So it's not a bad start. Which made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and a little while now since the England Grand Slam World Cup double. Again, it's like things that you'd dream of being even involved in.
Yeah, I mean, it just all came together. We lost Grand Slams along the way. We lost games along the way. We didn't lose many, but they were always big games. In all fairness to Clive Woodward, he was always like, you're going to have to lose those big games to make it burn. Make that desire burn a little bit brighter. And if you talk to a lot of those New Zealand guys who had heartache all the way through until they got it done in 2011, it is that way. You need to lose some games to.
Of course.
We lost 2 Grand Slams, and then we lost to France in 2002, and then in 2003 it all came together perfectly. We won obviously the Grand Slam, won both our games down in the Southern Hemisphere before the World Cup, and then obviously went and won the World Cup as well. So yeah, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. It was a pretty good year.
Yeah, massively.
These guys all really are very supportive of England, but when they don't go so well in the World Cup, they're like, yes, another 4
more
years'
years.
work.
Yeah.
4 more years of work. So yes, that's true.
Yeah. Obviously being quite close to AP, I was just thinking then, as a rugby, obviously you actually are a team. Being a jockey, they say, is an individual sport. It's not a team sport, etc. I don't really think that's that true. If you've ever been in the weighing room and or been around those jockeys, you see how close they are. How, as in, they really look out for each other. Like they look after each other. I'm sure you've seen lots of these clips where jump jockeys pull the other one back on, etc. If they see them falling or they see they've lost an iron or they shove them. I actually do think to a point there is again the crossovers of looking out for each other and it being a very dangerous sport, the same as what you were doing.
I think with being a jockey and in some ways your sport, because of the danger level, you really respect anyone who's doing it. I still think there's individual drive to win. You look at AP and the fact that he'd travel the length and breadth of the country for a winner, non-stop 7 days a week. That's how he obviously being a good jockey, but that's also how he became 20-time champion jockey. But then everyone also understands that it can be a dark place, can be a lonely place. So I think they're very good at bringing that side of it together. It's the same in Zara sport. They all root for each other off the field, but then they're massively driven to do the best that they can do. But sometimes you could do the best that you can do, or you can do as well as and you can still finish third.
Yeah.
So you can't have a go at someone else who's just got a better dressage mark because you can't control that. So off the field, off the paddock or whatever you want to call it, they're a very close knit unit. Yeah, out the saddle. That's a good way of putting it.
Massive highs, massive lows, isn't it? It's just
and I think as a pair, as you two, you think you appreciate that massively of the other one because you get the competition thing. You can have a very good day. It's hard then to just. Or if you have a very bad day, it's hard to come home and switch off, I think. And just be okay about it. But you understand it from each other, do you think?
Definitely. I think you're way more selfish than me as an individual.
Are you? Is that true?
Not entirely true. But it is also, you've got to understand people have a process of whatever they do, of their routine or what they need to do, or they'll have a mood when they've gone into a certain zone. She has like a cross-country day, if it's at a Burley or a badminton, a big event, when she sort of flips into just getting, you can see her just working through the fences, working through stride things and getting herself in that right place of mind, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's a sort of the seat of your pants stuff. So that's when you just give her time, make sure everyone else gives her time, because that's all you can do is provide it. Sometimes now the kids go and ruin that, so you've got to try to keep them away now when she sort of hits that zone, because they don't enjoy it when you fall off, and they go, "Why do you fall off?" And you're like, "I didn't mean to."
Yeah, that's never ideal. I'm assuming as well, from the point of view of that, you have that zone, and you do kind of just get into it, and again, it's a mental thing that you have your process that you do. And I really massively hope, to be fair, actually doing this, that a lot of people racing, will switch into the eventing thing and they will watch it, because I tell everybody I ever meet how great it is, because I actually think a lot of racing fans would really like the cross-country part of eventing, because I think it's very similar. It's the same adrenaline, watching a good horse and a good rider, and you both have to make it happen.
The partnership work well. I mean, I think you've been saying that they need to do better at how they showcase it. In terms of-
Advertising it
Yeah.
outside of
and
the
how
event.
they
If
show
you're not
it
in it, you
and
wouldn't see it.
how they video it, how they commentate it, and make it a bit more exciting for the fan to watch. Get more of a actually see what you see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
would be good.
definitely. It's just lacking in that area, and it is a tough sport to follow because it is quite confusing.
Yeah.
And
Even
they
when
keep
you're on the horse
changing
yourself.
it. Yeah, exactly. Where am I going? And it's and they change stuff all the time, so they need to make it more accessible to people, of understanding and being able to watch it and appreciate what is going on and what the terrain, the fences, the technicality, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely very similar, and I feel that as I said at the beginning, like there's so much I've learned from racing that I've put into my career, and I'm so grateful for. But yeah, it's just you do really. I mean, even on those one-day events, you just got to make sure you're on it, because if you're not on it, you end up doing something silly and doing something stupid. Because at the end of the day, you are working with an animal, and they love doing what they're doing. You just got to try and contain it. Make sure that you're both on the same page. There's always at points that could go wrong, and they see that in racing, like big saves and. Or making a plan B, in a split-second decision. So yeah, I guess it makes it more fun though as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, more fun and scary. You're both going to Cheltenham this year, will you, and the National?
Yeah.
Yes, I think
You
so.
might not be able to go to the National.
I might have to do a competition, annoyingly, but
Find another one. There's loads. You've got months.
I'm going to try and aim to take mine to America. So I think annoyingly. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll definitely be at Cheltenham. Looking forward to everything there, because Trials Day the other day was epics and epic horses running, and then you bring all the Irish in as well. The onslaught of the Irish, and hopefully this year we can do a bit better, fend them off a bit.
Yeah, let's hope so.
But it'll be busy and it'll be fun, and yeah, we always love being there and being a part of it. And
well, if the Irish come over and do really well, then hopefully the England team on the Saturday can go over there and ruin their Grand Slam party.
Got to win something.
Yeah,
awesome. Thank you so much for having us here. Amazing talking to you
pleasure.
both, and hopefully everybody that's watching, does watch, will learn plenty from it about you both.
Thanks.
Cheers.